I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are, wherever you are. You have tuned in to another episode of Affordable Model Railroads. You asked for it. This is the series where we give you tips and tricks of things that we do when we are building our railroads. And today, what we're going to do is give you some of the very basics of the NCE Power Cab throttle. We have a client in Nashville. We are building this railroad for, and we are installing the NCE DCC system, and they wanted something to kind of give them a heads up and a primer for operating the throttle and operating the trains before we actually deliver the railroad to them. As you can see, we've got the most of the track down. We've got a lot of the roadbed down. We've got the foam risers, got the track plan print set there for the track area we're still working on. Depending when you are seeing this video, we will either have already posted the video showing you how to use the track plan print, the risers, the super quiet roadbed, and the track. This is being filmed a little bit out of order. As I said, the client did want to get this video primer on operating the NCE system. So we thought we'd go ahead and make the video and post it now rather than in the proper sequence. All right, so what we're going to do today is go over some of the very basics of this throttle. You can see up here we have the display, which gives you your information. And then we have the direction control here, momentum control, which we'll explain a little bit later. Your speed controls are all here. You've got 3 different ways of controlling the speed. You have your basic horn, bell, whistle, and headlight commands for your DCC decoder. You can also use the keypad to access any of the decoder functions there. This button here is to select your locomotive. This one here is to select any of your accessories. This is to set macro programming, when you want to program multiple things to happen at the same time, multiple commands at the same time. This right here is for setting up the consisting of locomotives. And then you have your program buttons and set your speed set to 28 or 128. And so what we're going to cover today are just the very basics, kind of get the up and running. Now, every locomotive needs to have, or any accessory that you want to operate with DCC needs to have a decoder built into it. And every one of those decoders needs to have a unique address so that the throttle and the DCC system knows what it is communicating with. Out of the factory, most locomotives, like this Bachmann GG1 here, usually comes addressed to number 3. And that way you can then take it from there and program it to whatever you want. You want to program them pretty quickly after you get them, because you don't want a whole bunch of locomotives all with number 3. Otherwise you can't control them individually. They'll all work at the same time. So what we usually do is we will reprogram it to the road number that's on the locomotive. That makes it easy, and you always know. You don't have to try to remember what its locomotive address is, because it's always right there on the locomotive. Now this one here is set at 03 already from the factory. What we want to do is, off of the distance there, you see that Santa Fe way off on the other side of the table there, and he is road number 5266. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go down here. Let me turn the camera this other way here so we can see it better. I'm going to select loco, and you'll see the screen says enter loco. And so we want to put in 5266, enter, and you can see here now where it says loco 5266. We have our direction control, and it's a toggle. You can see the display changing from forward to reverse. We're going to put it in forward, and then we want to do our speed. Now, we can either do the speed with this thumb wheel, which you can see the locomotive will move there, or you can increment, and if you watch the display there where it says forward, the 3 little digits, you can increment this one speed at a time, and the locomotive will go at number 1 slow and progressively get a little bit faster and progressively get a little bit slower. Now you also have this increment fast, which if you notice, it will increase 4 at a time. And as we do that one, you'll see that it jumps quite quickly. Alright, then we have this other feature here called emergency stop. And that will stop your locomotive. So if it's running and you don't have time to slow it down, it'll stop it immediately. It's kind of like a brake feature. Now, it'll only stay there for a little while, and then as soon as you hit the speed control, it'll start moving again. Now, there's an example I should have used to stop rather than moving out of the way. All right, so we're going to vacuum up a little bit here. Now, one of the big advantages to DCC, probably the biggest advantage, is you can operate 2 trains at the same time. So we have the 5266 here running, and let's increment him to a little speed of 2 there. Then we're going to go down here, and I'm going to go select loco. I'm going to go 3 and enter, and now the display is on 3, and so now we'll be able to operate Mr. GG1 here while our Santa Fe is still on track doing its thing. Now, if you want to switch between the 2 locomotives, you just have to hit recall, and as you can see, it goes back to 5266, and so now we can control what we want to do with the Santa Fe. And as he creeps along there, we'll set him a speed. Then we can go back to recall again. It goes back, you'll see it goes back to 03. And so now we can change the direction on our GG1 and bring him back. Now again, the emergency stop, as you see, only stops the locomotive that we were controlling. The Santa Fe keeps going. And the nice thing about that is that you don't stop the whole system. So if somebody else is running a train somewhere else, you're not going to impair their ability to keep running. You just stop your train for whatever reason you wanted to do that. Okay, and then let's bring this Santa Fe back down here, back towards us. And show you some of these other functions real quick here that you can do. You can hear the sound right there. I have the sound set really low, and the reason for that is because normally I run my locomotives in consist, and so you have 2 or 3 locomotives all with the sound. It starts building up. You've got locomotives that other people are running. The sound starts building up. You've got locomotives sitting idling in the yards. The sounds build up, and pretty soon you have a huge orchestra of sound, and sometimes it gets pretty annoying. So I keep the volumes down on mine. That's just a personal preference. You can set those on most decoders the way that you want. So the sound-equipped decoders, so we have our basic function here. You have your horn. You have your bell. I don't know if you can show that there. And then the headlight. And the nice thing about the headlight is if I put this into reverse, you will see that the headlight will actually switch to the reverse headlight, just like it does in real life. And if I switch the direction back to forward, the rear headlight goes out and the front headlight comes back on. Now, if you want to kill your sound altogether, it's function 8, and that will toggle between sound off and sound on. So if you don't want to run the sound, you just hit function 8 right here on the keyboard, number 8, and it will turn your sound on and off. The other thing you can do, the nice thing you can do, which we haven't installed yet, but on your turnout motors, you can, if you install your slow motion or solenoid operated turnout motor of choice that you have, your tortoises, your Smales, your servos, and you can set an accessory address, hook them up to a decoder, set an accessory address, and then you can come here and you can go select accessory. We'll just say that that was addressed to turnout number 1, enter, and then in the case of this here, number 1, if you hit number 1, it will move that into the straight or through track location, and if you hit number 2, it will send it to your diverging route. Now you can, depending on your decoder, you can change that if you want, but I like to leave it at the default so it's always the same. 1 is my through or main line, and 2 is my diverging route. And then the other one here, you've got this speed step. You can program it for 28 or 128, and it toggles, and you can see over here, SP is for a signaling that you're putting a command in there, speed step, and so I want the speed step to be 128, and the reason for that is because at 128 you get much finer control over the locomotive than you would at 128. At 28. You can see at 128, when I have it incremented to a speed of just 1 there, it moves super slow. If I change that to 28 steps and then increment it to number 1, you see it moves a little bit faster, because you only have 28 steps of gradation rather than 128, which you can get a much finer control on that. As you can see, you can get it to really creep when you have the 128 as opposed to the 28. Alright, so that is just the real basics to get yourself up and running, and we will post in the future other videos that will have more in-depth on individual functions. But this will get you running, get your trains going, get you playing with your layout, and get you having fun with the model railroad. So thanks for watching Affordable Model Railroads. You asked for it, and until next time, happy railroading.